What were you saying? Okay,
Who
so
did you all tell?
we've started.
Oh,
We're
right.
recording.
Woo.
Who did I all tell what?
Girl, you always start before I think that we're ready.
Oh, well, we're always ready. We were born ready.
True that.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to another episode of Thoughts Explored.
It's the 5th day of winter.
Thank you for letting us know that. We are, I gotta say, even from Chicago point of view, this is actually snow. I was all like, yesterday, but today it's real. It's real.
It's real, and it's like 25 degrees in Seattle.
But it's
That's like
still,
no joke.
yeah. So we are in our house with the heat on, thank God. I am so grateful.
Feeling very grateful for a roof over our head, for sure.
Very grateful for that. Very grateful for my love. We had a lovely Christmas dinner yesterday, courtesy of my love, a lobster and crab bisque. It was delicious. So we just wanted to talk to you today a little bit, and I think my topic today, as I always just kind of started off, is going to be about knowing. I don't know about knowing, but really kind of realizing the impact that we have on people. And so this is kind of a feel-good episode, if you will. So that's basically what I would throw out. And I would say, Lex,
Yes,
have
Chris.
have you ever had an experience where you thought that, you didn't have any impact, and then somebody told you, oh, because of X, Y, and Z, or something happened that
Yes.
that you didn't even know about?
Well, I have actually, exactly.
Do tell.
Well, over my many, many years of life, there's been a couple of times where I've been surprised, mostly positively, but that same kind of thing can
Well, let's talk about the
be
positive.
negative too. But the idea being of where it's come to your attention months later or years later that you had much more of an impact than it occurred to you in the time, in the moment.
So, do you want to get specific about that? Can you get specific about that?
Well, I'd have to think about specific instances, and I'm not right now.
Okay.
But the idea is very clear to me, and I've had that with other people too, where I've shared an instance where they've said something or done something, and this is years later, and they had no idea that it had such an impact on me. And again, I would have to sit back and really think about coming up with instances, but they are profound when it does happen.
How did it make you feel when they told you, or maybe you had that feeling?
Well, when I've heard about it years later from somebody else, it's kind of like, oh my goodness, wow. And again, I would like to say that it's always been positive, but sometimes it's also like, wow, I had no idea that it affected you negatively or affected you at all. Because I've always kind of gone through life hoping to never affect or change anybody. I know that sounds weird, but it's also kind of like, no, I really don't want to have any effect.
So it's like you're in Back to the Future, where you where you can't have any effect.
Like I have this idea, like, no, I just want to be neutral and not have any responsibility. And that's what it is. It's like, I don't want to have any responsibility
That's a good
for
point.
any effect on anybody else. positive or negative. And that is what I have really come to terms with over the years as I've gotten older, where it's like, but dude, you do have effect on people. And that was really kind of a profound realization over the years, that it's like, be careful, my darling, because you do have effect on people. Be careful, because that can be not always positive. And then in the same breath, be outward and giving to people, because it can be positive. Does that make sense? It's like, just to be aware, very, very aware, that your words and your actions can have a long time effect on people that you're kind of blithely going through, not even imagining or
not only can, they do.
Yeah.
And I think I would go a step, I would just say too, even if you are even if you are seeing it or perceiving it as negative, that whatever that negative is might help somebody, if that makes sense. Maybe that interaction, even though it might not have been what you would have wanted it to have been,
or what you would have wanted maybe the takeaway to
right,
be. Yeah.
Maybe that helped that person grow in that moment. And so
and then even coming back to me from that person, years later, has helped me to grow.
Exactly.
And I'm not taking it as a blame or a fault. It's just like, oh wow,
it's a note.
It's a note. It's a note to self. And those notes to self are so powerful and so important. And the understanding that it can be either way. Like it's neither fully negative or positive. It just is. It just is.
Yeah.
And yeah. And that's the kind of thing for me that it just takes over the years of wisdom and the years of expressing myself to people and relationships with people, that it comes back to me, and it's like, wow.
Well, I can say you've had a positive effect on me.
Really? Well, thank you for that note.
Yes.
I'll take that.
All through our relationship. And so many times I think back to things that you've said, and I was like, she's right. And it's like years later, like I'll remember something that you've said.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to have you in my life, in my everyday life, to live with you and to learn from you.
Well, and I feel like from my experience, even those times when I am coming back to somebody or even a memory or circumstances where it's like, yeah, wow, that was not the most positive input from you in my life, it was always valuable. And so I value those times with people that I'm coming back and I'm sharing that feedback with them. So even if it doesn't feel good in the moment, it's like, no, that was still valuable, It's not always a feel-good thing.
No.
But there's...
Yeah. I mean, I guess when I ask the question tonight, I'm thinking more about how all of us walk in the world now. Mm-hmm. And understanding our power and understanding that everything that we do has impact.
Yep.
And that we might not see somebody is looking at us, and it doesn't matter that somebody's looking at us, but we're always I feel like we should always strive to be our best, the best version of ourselves. And sometimes people see that best version, and that is really appreciated. And sometimes people see that version where we miss it a little bit. Mm-hmm. And we're still loved, though. All of those versions are still loved. And I think that is really, that's the key. It's like understanding that, I mean, shit, everybody is just trying to do the best that they can. I do honestly believe that. And you know, just because somebody isn't saying something to you doesn't mean that they're not seeing you, recognizing you, and appreciating you. It's just there's so much going on right now. So I guess that's what I would say first and to the forefront is that I've got a lot of people in my life that have had a profound impact on me. And some of those people are not in my life every day.
Right.
Those are people that I may have met one time,
Yes.
had one experience with, but it has been a profound experience. So
Right.
I guess I would say this is that form where I would say thank you to those people. And you don't even know who you are.
Exactly.
But that's the beauty of it. It's just like, does it really matter? No, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that there was that moment, there was that connection, and
it made a difference.
it made a difference.
Right. And that's where and that's where it's like, it's likely then that for some people there is that moment or that connection with you, with us, with any of the listeners, like where you may never see that person again, but it made a difference. And that's also where, me being my Virgo self, I see both sides too, where it's like when that connection or that experience doesn't feel good or checks us or is we don't come away feeling like, oh, that was all lovely.
Right.
To have that recognition and that forgiveness,
yep.
or that tolerance, that acknowledgement, that in the same vein, there are times when people are getting us or not encountering us in our best and most loving forms. And so we would want them to have that forgiveness for us.
Oh, completely.
And then reapproach with us or have a second opportunity.
Completely.
With an open mind. So it goes both ways. And that's where I think when we're talking about the power or the impact that we as individuals have, all of us, on other people, and whether they're people that are in our day-to-day life or total strangers.
Yep.
It can make such a difference. And I think it's really something, good to remember on both sides. We're making a huge difference to people, and people are affecting us.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big. I mean, that's I kind of feel like that's part of why we're here. That's what we're here to learn.
Well, it's that interconnectedness too. Like we're all connected.
We are,
and on our good days, and our most brilliant days.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's good 100% of the time, and it's understanding that and being there for people, no matter what. You have to figure out how you're going to show up. It's not. There's no rules for how you show up. You just have to figure out what works for you.
And you also have to figure out how you're going to receive people.
Yes.
There was something that somebody, I wish I could remember who it was, but it was one of those things on Facebook. And the gist of it was, never mind. I'll have to get back to you. But it was kind of like, I either love you for what you're saying and doing, or I accept where you are, or I forgive you.
Oh, right.
It's like on any given moment, at any given day,
yeah,
that's how I receive people. not you are a bad person or I reject you.
Right.
But like I understand that on any given day, what I'm receiving from you or what you're giving to me or all of those different variables, it's like
I think that's a practice of almost like being in the now too, right? Because it's like whatever happened in the past, that was what happened in the past. But and that's a big part of forgiveness, right? Because
the next experience might be very different.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I think that that's not to say that if you have people in your life that repeatedly are vexing or repeatedly are not supportive or those kind of things, that then that goes into
you have to take care of yourself.
absolutely taking
Self-care.
care of yourself and separating yourself from that.
Yeah, I going back though to the idea of the impact. I think that I like what you said about that. I myself can say that there are times that people have come to me and said, like you said, both positive and things that I would be like, oh, I should work on that. Um, but I had no idea because that was the only format that was available, like them coming to me. Um, you know, so
What do you mean by that? That was the only format that was available?
well, I mean, had they not said anything, I wouldn't have known.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
they weren't like people in your day-to-day life
Right.
where you're like having conversations all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess in closing, I would just say that for anyone who's listening, you have impact. You know that already. If you're listening to this podcast, you already know that. And it's not about modifying who you are. It's just about understanding that piece and celebrating that. Um, that's what I would say. I don't know.
Well, I also have like one other thing is I tend to be a little bit I don't know, circumspect or introspective or a little bit more of an introvert, but I have tried to make a practice, and I rather like it, over the past year and a half, of telling people when I have an interaction and then I don't see anybody for another 6 months or whatever. You know what? That one time when we were talking, I really enjoyed that conversation. That kind of thing, that sort of acknowledgement. And it's not to stroke anybody's ego.
No.
It's just to like take that moment where I am recalling that and going, you know what? Thank you for that. I enjoyed that. Or thank you for those notes and considerations.
Yeah.
I value that.
I think that's
thank
awesome.
you for that. And just to get that feedback.
Yeah, that's good. I like it.
Because for me, that's the kind of thing that a lot of times I think about after the fact. Like, oh, yeah, wow. That was a really cool conversation. Or I really enjoyed talking to them. Or, that exchange, that interaction. But then I rarely say anything about it because, that's just me. But
not anymore.
Well, I mean, it's just kind of something that I thought, like, let me put those words into, out loud if the situation comes up.
I think that's
with
right.
that same person. Just like say, hey, thank you for that. I value that and I appreciate that. And I value you. And that goes a long way, I think.
Well,
for all of us.
I value you, my love.
And I you.
And thank you for participating in our podcast.
Absolutely. And thank you for bringing it up.
Yeah.
Because, it's not like me necessarily to like, have a thought and pop onto a podcast.
Well.
But I enjoy what you bring to this and I enjoy being asked to participate with it.
Wouldn't have it any other way, my love. Okay.
Anyway, dear ones, it is almost the new year.
Sending love, joy, and gratitude to you all.
And hope to see you very soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.